Sitafim Yerushalmi Pesachim. The article Ozer edition on Daf Chaf Aleph Amud Aleph at the Mishnah of Allah Chavav, and in the Vilna on Yud Ches Beis, the Mishnah of Allah Chavav. So Asia is a more than Latani Golin. You're allowed to soak bran in order to give to chickens, because when you soak it, it can ferment. Avochotin, but you can sear it with hot water. As we've seen before, searing prevents chametz from occurring. A woman should not soak bran. Bringing her hand to the bathhouse, because when it's soaking, it can ferment. This using the bran as a kind of scrubbing agent. She can scrub it on her, rub it on her skin dry. Evidently, the Korban says even though there's a little bit of moisture in the skin, we're not concerned that that's actually going to cause it to ferment. Also, a person not chew wheat and put it on top of his wound on Pesach, because they're going to ferment. Tanya Rishobi says, Tanya Rishobi Aviv. Rishobi's name his father is the Sefta. Meisa, what's considered to be a Meisa? So the Korban brings down the thing in Perkam Chala. Meisa Beishaim Poch Beisil Mechayvin. Meisa Beishaim says the part of Chala, Beisil says Chayim Chala. Chalita, the reverse. Beishaim Mechayvin. Beishaim says they're Chayim Chala. Beisil Pochrin. Beisil says Pocher. Rabbi Yossi, what's the between Meisa and Chalita? So Rabbi Yossi explains that Meisa is Eza Meisa and also Chamin Toch Kemach. It's to put hot water into flour. Chalita is Kemach Toch Chamin. Chalita is flour into hot water. But here, it seems that both are mutter. Ben Chamin Toch Mursan, Ben Mursan Chamin. So the Korban says, "Mamasis matil achlotam mursin mutter b'shneim lo pli b'sham b'sel." They argue by the Chiv Chala. Here they don't seem to argue my time, but why? So the next line is very cryptic. Says b'sheyesh lehem shamnunis. So the Korban says b'sheyesh lehem shamnunis says that the Mishai b'sheyesh mursin shamnunis tuvinhem. They have shamnunis, they're oily, and they are this bran, and therefore it doesn't have to be chametz. Evidently, it's kind of like chametz nuksha. It doesn't arrest the process from making chametz. The Pnei Moshe says that a similar thing. He says that he says is not in the grain, but ba'chamin, in the hot water. So according to him, actually, it comes that chalita is big chiddush. Misa has to be done not just hot water, but a little bit shamnunis in it. The Yerushalmi Pesachim brings down from the Rav Yah a pshat that they are still the bran is still moist and they haven't become flour. But it's a difficult shot to say. Bringing something from the Charedim, an interesting thing that this is going on. Actually, is going on the next part of the Gemara, the Melugma. It's Melugma shenisracha. The Melugma is a says the Pnei Moshe Karmaneda, Tachbosha is a bandage, or a plaster. This melugma is called melugma. Person chews his mouthful of wheat or figs and puts on his makkah. So he says melugma shenisracha. So if it goes bad, is tiny those who say you have to be mevar more quickly because the shamnunis causes it to become chametz more quickly. And there's evidently a Gemara like that later on in Perek Gimel Halacha Daled. It seems to be that the end there towards the end of the Gemara in Halacha Daled, there actually seems to be evidence that the shamnunis causes stuff to become chametz more quickly. Says B'sheyesh lehem shamnunis, a few lines for the Mishnah and Halacha Daled. Mr. Hashem will get there when we get there. The article also goes with the Charedim. He brings it down, and that's the parish of Rabbi Elazar Azkari. The Elazar Azkari is the Charedim. So So again, so that'd be going b'sheishem shamunis is going on the lugma, and that causes it to it's a catalyst for it to become chametz more quickly. Basically, it means that if it's extremely dry grain, there's no shamnunis left, there's no moisture at all. So then we're not going to become chametz. It has some grain has to have some residual moisture, which is called the shamnunis, I guess, because it's viscous in some way. It's oily, so therefore, unless it has that residual viscosity, it's not going to become chametz. And so the mlugma shenisrucha, with as long as there's shamnunis in it, we have to be cautious. It's actually going to become chametz. If it doesn't have any shamnunis at all, so then it doesn't have the grain was completely dry and hard, and then evidently it's not a problem. Okay, so actually it's machlekes. Mugash Yisrael Yisrael Zok Levar Yisrael ain't Zok Levar. Man Amar Zok Levar. He who says he had to be barred. Mishin is chamtza chakan nisruchas became chametz first, and then it became rancid or repugnant, whatever it is. So therefore, at some point, it was royal achilas kelev. So it was, as the Korban says, came the chalale isur chametz so paka isur b'isri chasa. Okay, so therefore, the fact that later on became rancid, I guess, still perhaps the royal achilas kelev, but it became chametz, which is nesitam l'shvach, and then only afterwards nesitam l'gam. Okay, that's sukkah right now, so then you have to be vared. You don't have to vary, but nischa chacham nischamtza is when it was nischa and then nischamtza. So at the time it became chametz, it was already rancid and never had a true parameter of chametz. No beer ever devolved upon it. And again, according to the Charedim, it's talking about where it has shamunis, where the grain has still some viscosity to it, so it wasn't completely hard and dry. Okay, says the Mishnah Chazayin, ain't no simple chemical lo to charoses lo to charda. You can't put flour into charoses or into charda. Charda is mustard. Charoses is carbonata. Davar sheyesh bo chometz umayim basut haba basar. It's not our charoses. It's a charoses, which it's a different type of mixture, which has vinegar and water, and it's made in order to dip meat into it. So it's another type of condiment, like mustard, which you put in meat. In Nasan, if you did put your flour into it, yochel miyad, you should eat immediately, because it doesn't make things chametz right away. The Korbanei Bnei Moshe both say that the talk about chardal, not charosas. Charosas will cause it to become chametz right away, but chardal you can eat it, and as long as you immediately you're out, you're safe. Those are both based on the Bavli, but the Yerushalmi does not make that distinction. According to Pashush on the Mishnah, without the Bavli, it would apply to both. When it says Yochamiad, it would seem to apply to both Charda and Charosas. You can't cook a Korban Pesach because it says Lo Soch Lemenu No Vashem Vushal. Not supposed to cook it. So now to cook the Pesach, not beverages, not any of the the 7 beverages. Obviously now they can't use anyway because one of them is blood. But anyway, neither Loma Pierce nor in fruit juices. I was talking about peeling also, but you can use like barbecue sauce. You can anoint and dip your current paste in it. Meitash Misha Shanachtom, the actually I should put on the Korban says Sachim B'Shas Liyasa when you roast it. That's the barbecue sauce. My peeling is when you eat it. That's a dip like mustard. The water that a baker uses in order to cool up his hands when he's setting matzah, when he's preparing it. So yishpachu, then there's some residual dough in them. Therefore, you should toss them out because they become chametz. Okay, the says Gemara. Tani ain't no simschem to chalosis or to charda. We learned in our Mishnah, evidently it's It's a quote from a Mishnah. You can't put the kemach to charosa to chada. Nasi al chambiyari. Put it immediately about shlo yisheh. Now this brayso elaborates in the Mishnah. It says uvad shlo yisheh. This is as long as you don't tarry. Oser mipnei shumasher. It says the Meir is not part of the Mishnah, so I brought down this price. So, it's not possible that you're going to do it immediately. Korban explains because it's not possible. It's not going to tarry because mustard is sharp. Can't eat it quickly. Moshe says just it doesn't bring down the without reasoning, but just says it's an issue that you're going to people eat slowly. Let's going on to the next one in the Mishnah. It says you should not eat the Pesach cooked in water. Only says water in the pasuk. How do you know that all other beverages are not permitted as well? No matter how it's cooked, it's usher. Rabbi Akiva. So says Gemara, okay, that makes sense. According to Rabbi Akiva, says Ad kan move Shar mashkin Rabbi Akiva darish kefil l'shon shebetar. Rabbi Akiva darshins in kol tarkula. If you have a double lashon like Hashem Vushal, it is a ribui. Comes to include. But what about Rabbi Shmuel? Says Rabbi Shmuel, Damar dibur Torah lashon me'adam. No, double lashonis are the way the Torah speaks. Because the Torah speaks lashon me'adam. People say things like basha mevushal. It's a poetic way of flourish, way of talking. So therefore, according to him, how do we know that cooked in other beverages is also right? So Tanya Rishon Kavachomer. Rishmael says the Kavachomer. It's a logic. Water which doesn't change the taste of Korban Pesach is also shar mashkin, other beverages shemefigin tamon, which are going to change the taste. Lo koshkin. It's not a kavachomer that they're also. So it's a logic. So the next Yerushalmi pretty explicitly is matzah ek matzah. Says Gemara, ein lashim mat at least correct I should say. Ein lashim matzah mashkin. You can't you should not need matzah with beverages. The water. Ava mekatfin. So you can mashkin. You can tap the other beverages on top of it. I guess give it some sort of flavor. Because we were in a boat, and I guess there's a shortage of water. And I needed their matzah with other beverages. So we see it's not a problem. You can't need matzah with hot water. The nation chotin, because it doesn't. Then it's going to sear the dough, and the says name nation chotin be'enei chol machmitz. So some matzahs. So this matzah, it's not chametz, but it's not suitable for matzah's mitzvah because it didn't require shmir for chametz. It's cholot. It's not baked. It's not going to be baked. So therefore, that's not good. For low potion, and you can't use lukewarm water. The nation because although it's not going to be cholet, it's going to make chametz more quickly because the lukewarm water makes the chametz more quickly. Avalasha, so I'm saying says you need it with cold water. So the Gemara says, wait a minute, why shouldn't you be able to use lukewarm water? But they learn kol menachos in the Beis Hamikdash. All the menachos need loshes b'poishrin. They would need them with lukewarm water. And they carefully safeguard them by keeping and working them that not become chametz. Because as long as you keep working, it does become chametz. So why can't we do that? Rabbi Yerushalmi Pesachim says, "Tamar though most of the Kohanim there, it's given over the Kohanim. But Kohanim's reason, and the Kohanim are diligent, they're careful, they're meticulous, they're going to be careful. It's given over to women. right? For Nashim Matzil saying, we've had this constantly before in the Masechta. So Nashim Matzil saying either means they're very they're lazy, or it means that they're very meticulous. They do things slowly, right, and deliberately, whatever the case may be. But it means that the women are not necessarily going to take this to be able to be shomer from chametz. The same as the Kohanim would be in the Beis Hamikdash. So says the Gemara, okay, fine. Lo tzurcha da el the law. My question is only this. The law, of course, Yerushalmi means da ella. I don't need to ask that question about normal people, but rather my question is Hakonim Atzman. Kohanim themselves, Ma'ashi Elushu Matzasim B'Poishin. Can they knead their matzah with lukewarm water, because they have the experience in the Beis Hamikdash of safeguarding them, so therefore they'll safeguard outside the Beis Hamikdash as well. Yeva Kedah. So let's learn it out like this. The Tana Rabbi Zcharia Chasnei Rabbi Levi, Rabbi Zcharia the son of Rabbi Levi, said Nida Chofefes V'Sorekes. A nida is has to be chofef and sorek, meaning has to shampoo and comb her hair, right? The chofefes nowadays, chafifas we call shampoo. The Korbaneh says here means she has to run her hair, her hands through her hair, and of course combing serves the same purpose, to remove any knots or any clumps of hair. Kohenes enecho refes v'sorekas. A kohenes who's toivos for truma, and she toivos every day, says Korbaneh shevez chol chol yom. Since she has to be toivel every day when she becomes involved with truma, so she doesn't have to do chafifa srika because her hair is she's careful about her hair. I don't know if she literally had to go to the mikveh every day, but they have to go to the mikveh quite frequently because obviously for truma, a lot of stuff makes her tummy, and therefore she has to freely go to the mikveh. So therefore, between times she's her hair's not going to get matted and knotted. Nida kohenes. But a woman who's in Nida, Kohenes, she's called Peves Sorekas. She does have to do Chafif and Srika. Shalach Lok Ben Nida and Nida. Nor not distinguish between Nida and Nida. The article says, wait a minute, if she's in a Nida, she wasn't eating Shumah for a long time anyway. So therefore she'd have to go to the mikveh. She should fall into the category of a regular woman. She doesn't have the unique mind of a Kohenes anymore. So he wants to say something about a Zaba Ketana, a woman who because the Zaba for one day, and therefore the next day should go to the mikveh. But the truth is, we could say a little bit differently, and I think this is probably more push-up shot, is that since they go to the mikveh every day, they used to comb in there every day. Anyway, she's in Nida, she combs there every day. Because that's the way they're accustomed to do it. That was the way the priestly lifestyle. But so even though, yes, when she's Nida, she's not eating truma, but she's still conducting herself the same way and combing her and making sure her hair is not matted every single day, or at least relatively frequently. But regardless, nevertheless, Kohenes called Pefes Sorekas, she still has to Chafif and Srika. Shalach Lok Ben Nida and Nida, in order not to distinguish between different types of Nida. And here too, Shalach Lok Ben Matzah. Don't distinguish between the matzah of the Kohanim outside Beis Hamikdash and matzah of other people. Nobody can use lukewarm water outside the Beis Hamikdash. Okay, so the next we have a header from the Mishnah. The water that the baker uses, he should throw them out because they come chametz. East tani makom ashboren. Those who learn that he can throw them out in a place where they can collect together. The Ashboran says lashon shvarim shakarka mishtaberes. The ground is broken up. And there are cracks in the ground where the water is going to collect. And there is the East Tiny Tiny. Those who say shovcham makom katapris. No, he's got to toss them into a place where they are on a slope, not a place where they are going to collect. So it qualifies these things. Amar Beisaman Mashal Makar Hashbaran. He who says you put him in Hashbaran Bashal Hashbaran Gavoa, where the Hashbaran is high. I think the pshat is that the Hashbaran has very high rims. and therefore the water. The water is going to go deep down, and you're not going to retrieve it. Right? You're not going to collect there, and then you're going to retrieve it because you're throwing it down like into a deep pit, and therefore even collects on the bottom. We're not concerned. He says when a slope is kapras gadol, it's got to be a long slope. The assumption is while going the slope, it's going to get absorbed gradually in the ground. Not much more, it's deep down, so it's not a problem. If it's a Gershborn Gadol, while it's rolling down, it's still on the surface. So it's a Tapras Gadol. It's such a large slope that while it's rolling down the mountain, it's going to get absorbed into the ground. So it's not clear if they're actually arguing. It's one of those Ashbara. It could be that they're one says Ashbarim has to be Ashbarim Gadol and Gavoa, and the Mar Katapris has to be Katapris Gadol. Okay. Amalei Pinchas Hashem Rabbi Ila Hachin Hava. Here it says Rabbi Chia Ba, but the comment says Rabbi Chia Bar Ba. So he evidently he said this. I think the article may throw the word Amar. Amar Leah Pinchas Rabbi Yosef B'Shem Mila Hachin Hava Amar Rabbi Chia Bar Ba. Right. So this is he said also similar thing. Shara Chitin Usarim B'Mayim. The person actually it's not a similar thing. It's a new thing. If you soaked wheat and barley whole in water, if they became chametz, they're also. If they fermented, it's also. If they haven't become fermented, they're permitted. Rabbi Yosef said, "Shara if you soak barley in water, once they crack, they're usher." So the Karmani explains, according to the first round, according to Pinchas' name, Rabbi Ila, name Rabbi Chia Barba, so nisbaku mutaros, if they crack, they split, they're still mutter, according to as long as they don't ferment. Yossi says no, by barley, the moment they crack, they're also, that is a sign that they are either fermented or they're going to ferment very quickly. Shayim b'chometz, but if you soak them in vinegar, then that's okay. Because the vinegar shrivels up the wheat or the barley and prevents it from becoming chametz. Rabbi Shmuel Rabbi Yitzchak have a yain kosesha. Rabbi Yitzchak had wine which is going bad. It's going sour. So sour wine is not much you can do with it except make it vinegar. So Yoy Begabei Sa'ari, and he put barley in and begin the yechma. The Yerushalmi Pesachim brings down a gear say yechma. You put in your os. In order they should become not chametz, not that barley should become chametz, but the wine should become fermented well. Okay, even though that's what it means. So it's you want the wine to be fermented, not the barley, because if you need to ferment the barley, obviously it's chametz. So show Rabbi Ami. That's Rabbi Ami. What do I have to be mevayer the wine? I use the barley as a catalyst for the wine. So that thing by the wine, you have to be mevayer it. So it's interesting because before we said that the vinegar shrivels up the grain. It's not going to become chametz, but here evidently, since by the time you put in, it was still wine, sour wine, but wine. So therefore, here no, it's not that we're afraid that the barley is going to become chametz, and therefore you have to actually mevar the vinegar as well. Rabbi Chanina braid the Rabbi Chia Havel braid Rabbi Bachya. Sorry, interesting, Rabbi Bachya. I don't think we've ever had Bachya before in the Gemara. I recall. He had honey which was mixed in. It means faked, but it means mixed in. I guess he's used as filler. That's why it's called mezuyah. Besola Shole Raimona said, asked him what's the story. I'm like, sorry, as the bari had to be bar. So the Maram Dilum Zano brings down here this concern nearly a time which in Chashina Kamosh Sumbo Solas Kach Sumbo Mayim Bu Machmitz. Okay, just like they put solas into it, they put water into it, and therefore it's machmitz. And then it says Amar Hamagia Hachida Chida who was or Mahadir, the person who edited the Maram Dilun Zano, the Chida says the Shitas Rashi as a Shabbat. I guess according to Rashi, holds that holds that egg matzah is also because it starts being machmir, it starts fermenting. Here too is a right to aser egg matzah because as the dvash is a mashke, shar mashkin, and it causes a chametz process for which you have to be invited. Okay, Chan min Elaine, it says the Rabbi Kiroi. There's somebody from the house Rabbi Kiroi. Havli garmin de meshach. He had barrels of oil. But go itzri the chitin, so which was in his warehouse of wheat. So evidently the Korban says, and there was oil dripped on the wheat. Show Rabbanan. So he asked Rabbanan what to do about this situation. So he says, go scrape away the grain which is underneath the barrels of oil. So again, it sounds like here, as Carmen says, the tzei grove match takas achov is the may peres machmitzim. Sounds like right to Rashi that may peres do cause chametz to occur. Again, I guess going to Maram Dilun Zano, you'd have to say that maybe water got in there somehow, and therefore that's what caused it. I guess maybe from time to time you go and you wash the barrels, so therefore it's a problem. Holy Rabbi Ami Be'ilin Garbai the Kutcha, he said that the barrels that you use for kutach, you want to conch them for Pesach. Ma'asam Mayim Shlosh Yomim May Ace Lace you fill them for water 3 times. Question for 24 hours. 3 days for 24 hours. The question is, which the discussed by the Achronim, is Yerushalmi holds like those who kosher glassware. I think it's starting that they have to change the water or each day, or just leave it for 72 hours, and it makes the barrel, it koshers the barrel. The Babin Avodah Zarah says that Daf Lamed Gimel, the article is one that says you have to switch the water. It's a question whether Yerushalmi agrees with that. Though these are klicheres, nevertheless, the article brings down here, note 28, the Rav Yod, the Mordechai, and others say that this is the fact that klicheres you can't kasher is only when stuff is cooked in klicheres, but something it absorbs. Even starting to try to the kutach, it's possible to get out by the 72-hour process. Okay, Hashla Perakol Shah, next parak. Halacha Aleph, over in Pesach. These are things in which you violate by Matzah and Pesach. You got to eliminate them. Kutach Abavli, the Babylonian Kutach, Sheikh Ramadi, the medium beer, the Chometz Adomi, the Edomite vinegar, the Zeisum HaMitzri, and Zeisum. Forgot what it is. It's going to explain these things anyway. Bezuman shows Tzabayim, the Zuman of the dyers, the painters, I don't remember which one. But Minon shows Tabachim, the starch of the butchers, V'kolon shows Svarim, and some sort of material used by the prescribes. There's a Aftach Shiti Anoshim. So also the types of the makeup used by the women. Zaka, kosher mean dagon, anything which is a type of grain on Pesach or Pesach you violate on Pesach. But these all in our Mishnah are you're forewarned. So they, in other words, it's Isra Achila, right? The lav was no kores. So the anything which is a mixture of chametz. And there's a lav and not a chorus. We're going to have to discuss this further, but let's do the Kama Eda quickly. Kum first look more. Vani arba kuta arba these four kuta bali sheikh amadi chametz sedami says mitzvah chametz dog and garma de taroivis. Those are all chametz, which is absolute chametz, but it's mixed with other stuff. Vani shlosh the last three. The zomer shel tzabayim milah shel dvar kolon shel svarim and chametz nuksha. What does that mean? It's chametz not suitable to eat be'eno, not suitable to eat as is. Shein murim dorim acherim. It's not unless it's mixed with something else, which will make it, I guess, edible. The by the way, the Plain Moshe brings down all the meanings of all the things, but it's getting late. I'm not going to get into it now. By bless Mofaz Moshe of Tishay not Tavshit Inashim Shem Nuksha Deit Aroibis. That look El Nuksha Be'eno. So he adds Nuksha, which is mixed in. Nuksha Tarovis. Then Chametz just talks about Chametz Deit Arovis and Chametz Nuksha as two separate categories. Okay, but these are things the Gemara is going to have to discuss. We'll stop it for today because we're ready up next one.